history. Today we're going to be talking about the Normandy Landings. The Normandy Landings were the most important event for the Allied forces in all of World War II. There was strategy, fake planes to invade a different part of France, new vehicles, new technological advancements, planes, paratroopers, boats, thousands of men, tons of bloodshed, and extremely good commanders. The Normandy Landings allowed for 850,000 men and 150,000 vehicles of Allied forces to be able to secure a foothold in Axis territory, and thus allowing them to push further into Germany, creating a vice from the east and west, the east being the US and Great British forces, and the west being the Soviet Union. This grip squeezed Germany until their final surrender in 1945, securing a victory for Allied forces. There are many inventions that allowed for D-Day to happen, otherwise known as the Normandy Landings. A key part was the landing craft. It was a very important invention that played a significant role, allowing the Allies to capture the Normandy region successfully. What was the landing craft? The landing craft was a small or medium seagoing vessel which looked like a boat had a baby with a barge. It transported soldiers and equipment, and some of the landing craft were fitted with guns or rockets. In the beginning of World War II, scientists began to develop an idea of a landing craft. Allies had not used the landing craft until D-Day, which they unloaded scores upon scores of these crafts on Normandy shores with Germany unaware. What a landing craft looked like. You had your back here, and then it went out, and then it kind of curved upwards into that, and then you had all of your little people standing up or ducking down, getting ready to unload, and it would unload from a hinge here. So this would come down into like this, allowing them to go out. Like that. Open the secret compartment. We have a boat. So now we're gonna have our open letter to Seacraft. Seacraft, you're pretty cool. You allowed for the Allies to gain solid ground on the Western Front in Germany. Without you, the war could have looked very different for the Allies. You came in the forms of Underseebooten, landing crafts, battleships, aircraft carriers, and so many more. You were a critical facet to World War II, and without you, we could have been in a very different place right now. Sincerely, Sam Dickinson. Now we're going to the thought bubble.
It was a pivotal moment in World War II. On the morning of June 6, 1944, nearly 160,000 Allied soldiers crossed the English Channel and stormed 5 beaches along a 50-mile stretch of Normandy, France. The United States led the assault to try to retake the western coast of Europe from the Germans, who had conquered and been occupying it for 4 years. In the months and weeks leading up to the invasion, the Allies used a variety of means to deceive the Germans, who knew an attack was coming but didn't know where it would focus. After postponing the invasion by a day because of bad weather, the Supreme Commander of the Allied forces, American General Dwight D. Eisenhower, gave the go-ahead for the operation, codenamed Neptune. Shortly after midnight, 24,000 British, US, and Canadian airborne troops parachuted into France. Around the same time, minesweepers began clearing channels for the invasion fleet, which was comprised of almost 7,000 boats of all types, although around 4,100 of these were landing crafts carrying infantrymen. The Germans, by contrast, had just over 100 total ships in the area at the time and were heavily outnumbered. The same was true for the German Air Force, which could muster only 815 aircraft over Normandy in comparison to the Allies' 9,500. Naval bombardment of the beaches commenced at 5:45 a.m. while it was still dark. Allied infantry and armored divisions began landing on the coast of France, starting at 06:30. The men landed under heavy fire from gun encampments overlooking the beaches. The shore was mined and covered with wooden stakes, metal tripods, and barbed wire obstacles, making the work of the beach clearing teams difficult and dangerous. Casualties were heaviest at Omaha with its high cliffs. At Gold, Juno, and Sword, several towns were cleared in house-to-house fighting. The Allies did not achieve all of their goals on D-Day. Only Juno and Gold Beach were linked in the first 24 hours, and all 5 bridgeheads were not connected until nearly a week had passed. However, the operation was successful, as the Allies gained a precious foothold that gradually expanded as they drove into Germany from the west over the coming months. German casualties on D-Day were around 1,000 men. Allied casualties were at least 12,000, with 4,414 confirmed dead.
Extremely talented generals on each side of the Allied and Axis forces. On the Allied side of the war, the commander-in-chief was Dwight Eisenhower. He was a military mastermind. He continually let Russia keep fighting with Germany on the Eastern Front to allow Russia, who he knew that the US would have problems with later on, and weaken Germany. He then led fake landings on a different part of France so that General Rommel wouldn't know what hit him. He postponed the invasion of D-Day by 1 day due to bad weather, allowing for the German forces to slightly recover, but nonetheless it was not enough to prevent the invasion of Normandy. He sent almost 1 million people and almost 200,000 vehicles for the invasion. Not much short of an atom bomb could have prevented that from happening. On the Axis side was General Erwin Rommel, a generally widely respected general. He was able to fend off this invasion at least for a little while with a small fraction of the forces that the Allied had. There were over 10,000 Allied casualties and only about 3,000 German casualties. Yes, the Germans did have the upper hand, but they were heavily outnumbered and still managed to fend off the waves of Allied forces. And again, the Normandy landings were definitely the most important critical victory for the Allied forces in World War II. Sam Dickinson, and welcome to Crash Course World History. Today we're going to be many inventions that allowed D-Day to happen.
Okay.
Hi, Laura.
Okay.
Inventions allowing D-Day to happen.
Inventions that allowed D-Day to Inventions allowing D-Day to happen. The landing